Boom. 2 plus 2 equals 4? Or does it equal 5? Let's go. You listen to the Yepcast.
This is the Yepcast, where we're building a tribe of creators, movers, and shakers.
And inspiring young entrepreneurs to learn, think, and support one another.
What up, guys and girls? This is the Yepcast, and my name is James Nuveen.
And my name is Madeline Martini. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back to episode number 7 of the Yepcast. We are super excited to get this going. And I was actually just telling Madeline that I don't think I've been more fired up for a podcast episode until today. And that's pretty special because what we're talking about is pretty special.
This is definitely so relevant, whether you're in school or work, a new grad, or in your mid-50s. I think this is a relevant topic that everyone struggles with.
We are going to introduce that topic super shortly. But before that, in the news.
So something I came across in this past week was that Office Depot is now moonlighting as a co-working space.
Oh, God.
So we saw this with Staples about a month ago in August of 2018. Now Office Depot is hopping on the trend. Co-working, as we know, is huge right now. We have companies like WeWork, and if you're in the Cincinnati area, Centrifuge, and there's accelerators and co-working spaces across the nation doing this. Ugh. So what are your thoughts about co-working and this kind of new shift for these stores?
Co-working is great. Co-working is something you and I have done for, I don't know, about 8 months now, Madeline, right?
Yeah.
And I just cannot imagine co-working in the back of a Office Depot. That's just ludicrous to me. Walking like you're working, you're trying to record a podcast, or you're blogging, or you're shipping out the next software product for your company, and some crusty old man looking for a desk is wandering around picking up your stuff and looking at it. Dude, this is not for sale. I just cannot imagine co-working in a space like that. Just can't imagine.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting for sure. I don't know.
Interesting is a good word.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's a move. It's a pivot for them. I think they're doing it for financial reasons, but yeah, it will be interesting for shoppers and for the people using it.
It's pretty obviously a move out of desperation.
Yeah.
They're just trying to keep up with all these co-working spots because they can't sell anything anymore. Because the lack of innovation is killing them.
Yeah. And a heads up for our tribe, don't just go into any Office Depot. This is only in Los Gatos, California. And same for Staples. Don't go in there looking for co-working. It's only in Boston right now.
Well, let's keep it that way. All right. For my In the News segment, I want to talk about Lucid. So you probably haven't heard about Lucid. Lucid is Tesla's #1 competitor. And actually, that's kind of funny. Audi just came out with a all-electric SUV that just debuted today in San Francisco, and it's friggin' beautiful. It's amazing. But back to the topic. Lucid was founded, I believe, about 10 years ago by an ex-Tesla technology software guy, and he's now the chief technology officer at Lucid, and they make beautiful cars. But the reason they were in the news is because they received a $1 billion investment from the nation of Saudi Arabia. A $1 billion investment. That is nuts. So they are poised to not only compete with Tesla, but also to introduce their cars in a little bit more a sleeker way than Tesla does, especially with Tesla's issues in the past few months.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is currently being sued by the guy he called a pedo and a child rapist, so that's not a good look for him, but it's a great look for Lucid, so keep a lookout for Lucid in the next few months. They are going to skyrocket.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen these cars yet, I would do a quick Google search. I wasn't familiar before James sent me this article, but they are beautiful cars. I think they're way more beautiful than Tesla, and Tesla is a beautiful car, so that's really, it's interesting too, the Saudi Arabia investment. I'm excited to see where that company will go.
Mm-hmm. And on their website, you can actually look at their interior, look at the inside of the Lucid cars, and they almost have more tech than Teslas do. People think Teslas have the most tech you can possibly have in a car. Well, wait till you see the inside of the Lucid car. It's absolutely amazing.
It's a really sexy car too, and you can reserve yours for only $2,500. I saw on their site. So
$2,500 down payment.
Yeah, $2,500 down payment. Not bad. Not bad if you have the money.
All right.
That's super exciting news for this week. Check it out. Now on to our take.
As I've been reflecting on the last few weeks, and especially the last few years, I've noticed that I've changed a lot. A lot. Not only physically, obviously, but also mentally. I used to be the most competitive kid on the playground in kindergarten when we used to play baseball or wall ball or dodgeball or kickball. All the balls. I would be the most competitive kid out there. Want to win every single time. That went through middle school. That went through high school when I was on our high school soccer team, and we did really well. But something changed in my mind in college where I totally switched my tone from being ultra competitive to ultra collaborative. And I don't know where that came from. If I thought about it more, I would like to know and kind of like to analyze that. But also I want to look at this week on the Upcast what the difference is between competition and collaboration and what role it plays not only in school but also in the startup life and in the startup world once you get out of college. When I found this out about myself and reflected, I really thought about the impact of age in this switch from a competitive mindset to a collaborative mindset.
Age does play definitely a really interesting factor in this. So I agree on sports teams and stuff, it's kind of bred in us. And even in the classroom, I remember you kind of, at an early age, you compare your report cards with other students and everyone wants an A in the class and everyone wants to be the teacher's pet and everything. So I think that plays a really interesting role, and definitely age is a huge factor.
Madeline, is your experience kind of like mine in that you were super competitive as a kid and now you think of yourself a little bit more as collaborative, or the other way around, or how would you think of it?
That's interesting. So yeah, I'm still competitive as an adult, but I'm probably more collaborative than I was. I'd say growing up, I was definitely more competitive. And growing up for me is even into my first and second year of college. I remember like competing for internships, and it's cutthroat and you don't tell other kids where you're applying, and that doesn't provide much value. I think I probably didn't learn till my junior year, like, hey, maybe talk to the kid next to you who's applying for marketing internships and see what they found is successful. They're not your competitors, they're collaborators. And if you pull together with people, you can accomplish so much more and find better fits. So I think for me, it's really been a shift just in the past few years, and I find more value in collaboration on a personal level, I would say.
You brought up cutthroat competition, Madeline, and I actually took notes on this before the podcast, and it kind of reminded me of my older brother. So he is a very studious person. He went to school in upstate New York at a very prestigious school, and what he described his student life as at that school is absolutely cutthroat. He was going into either medical school or dental school. He hadn't figured it out yet. But in the classroom, every time he had a chance to speak up, someone would speak over him. Or every time he had a chance to show himself, someone would show themselves a little bit brighter, a little bit shinier, a little bit more robust than he did. And that's that cutthroat competition. So I wrote down this definition that I found of what cutthroat competition is, and I think it describes it perfectly and kind of relates to competition as a whole. And it said, too many sellers are selling the same product. And when there are too many sellers selling the exact same product, or with little minor changes in them, they have to separate themselves. And how do they separate themselves? By destroying other people, by destroying other products, by destroying other sellers. Because we're in college, we are trying to produce a product, we're trying to produce hireable people or entrepreneurs that can actually innovate and build upon something. And we see all these people around us who have similar products, similar skills. But as entrepreneurs, I think we're bred so much differently. I think we're bred to actually build upon each other's skills and collaborate with each other and have that collaborative mindset where we build off brainstorming and ideating and feedback rather than destroying each other and trying to make others worse than you are.
I don't know. Personally, I don't think entrepreneurs. I think there are a lot of collaborators out there and things, but a lot of entrepreneurs are cutthroat kind of people. They have this idea. Some of them, I mean, it varies obviously, and I think by region, I think that's a whole thing we can dive into as well.
Oh, hell
by
yeah.
region, it varies. So in the Midwest, from my experience, it has been extremely collaborative. I just went to a conference this past weekend, and everyone there afterwards, the networking was, how can we help you and how can we build you? And I know you've had similar experiences at conferences in the Midwest. But then we also went to a conference out in California this past year, and it was a much different experience. It was more about, like, what can you do to help us? What are your skills? What do you offer? I think in a lot of ways, the region plays a huge role, whether it's collaborative or competitive. And
I think it's the people you surround yourself with.
yeah.
That's related to region, but yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting though, and a lot of companies are built on, so we've talked about this from a personal standpoint so far, but as far as companies go, I'm curious what you think. Is it better to be collaborative? Like, imagine if Verizon and AT&T and all of the wireless phone carriers came together and built an actually like a good network and they could do so much more pulling their weight. Is that a good thing or bad thing? I don't know. That's something I'm curious your thoughts on.
I think it matters on the problem that they're trying to solve. I think world problems, global problems need global solutions. And that's something that Peter Diamandis, one of my favorite entrepreneurs, he would echo that to infinity. To create abundant solutions that affect billions of people, we need lots of power, lots of ideas, lots of knowledge together in one group to solve those kind of problems. A few months ago, I think it's about a year ago now, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan all teamed up to do what? They created a solution around the huge problem we have with healthcare in this country. They created a solution for all of their employees. I wonder how many employees all three of those companies have. Probably upwards around 500,000. Would you say 500,000?
Yeah,
500,000 employees sounds about right.
Yeah.
So they're creating currently a new healthcare system for only their employees because the healthcare system that existed before, healthcare systems, I should say, was just not enough to satisfy their employees and satisfy them as founders. This just illustrates the need for global solutions to global problems. I mean, obviously that's on a smaller scale, but like look at the value of collaboration in that partnership between those three guys. They're so powerful. They are so knowledgeable about their spaces that they know their employees need something that they don't have.
When you put some of the greatest minds in the room like that, the solutions they could come up with are really boundless. I think that's so powerful. And if they would have stuck in their silos, like on their own, they're all amazing. Was Warren Buffett, you said, was Berkshire Hathaway?
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway, yeah.
Yeah, and Jeff Bezos, and yeah, those are some of the greatest minds and people of our generation. So they could have done it all on their own. They had the resources, but when you pull it all together like that, you can accomplish incredible things.
That makes me think about what our ultimate goal is as attention-seeking people, power-seeking people, whatever we are. We want more, right? We want more. We always want more. We want more value. We want more money. We want more blah, blah, blah. And the way to do that is with ideas and knowledge. The more ideas you have, the more knowledge you have, the more power you have. The way you use that power is up to you, whether it be good or bad, but that's the ultimate goal, to have so much knowledge, so much ideation behind you. And the way to get that ideation and knowledge is to collaborate with more and more people, which leads to more and more ideas and more knowledge.
We can't talk about collaboration and competition without addressing worldviews and ultimately your personal values. So James and I share a very collaborative worldview, and we believe in the betterment of society. I think I can speak for you when we say that, but that's not saying that's the right view at all. You can definitely have more of a personal view. So like it's either if you're more motivated by the world and changing the world, or if you're motivated by what you can do to impact the world and your own personal drive, and maybe you want to be a power player in the world and you don't see collaboration as a road to get there, and it might not be for you. So I think it comes down to ultimately, are you driven by personally what you do, or are you driven by what we do collectively as a whole?
I think it's also a fair point to point out that it's okay to be competitive. I mean,
1,000%.
who's to say that Madeline and I don't want to win? Of course we want to win. We want to win all the time. And to have that competitive mindset overall, I think is a good idea. But there's a lot of good traits that come from a competitive mindset, like being on your toes. I think as companies and founders and executives, we need to be on our toes, especially as entrepreneurs. Because who's that coming behind us? That's going to be the next competitor who's going to wipe you out if you don't innovate and collaborate with your employees.
Yeah.
As a founder, Madeline, do you think your mindset has shifted at all?
Such a good question.
Come on. What's your instinct? Come on.
I would say my initial reaction to that is probably yeah. I mean, based on what Yep is, we are a collaborative community. I think maybe in certain businesses, I would become more competitive if I started a company that was there to generate revenue or something like that. I think I would become more competitive. But I think in the nature of this, it's so community related that I'm constantly like meeting people and reaching out and telling them about Yep. We're providing value versus trying to sell something. I think I could see in other aspects I'm competitive. So I think in another kind of business setting, I definitely would be more competitive. But for you, what has your experience been with Yep, and kind of have you had a shift or no?
I don't think necessarily I've shifted much to the competitive side, but I think I've definitely become a lot more collaborative, especially in the sense that I have a co-founder now that I need to take care of.
Thanks.
Figuratively.
Yeah.
And sacrifice a lot for, that I need her to give me feedback all the time. I need to give her feedback all the time. That's all collaboration. But one thing I do have a problem with as having a co-founder, and this is no slight against Madeline, this would happen with any co-founder, is we tend to think the same way in a lot of facets of our business. And that can hurt us tremendously. And we've seen that hurt us a little bit. This week has been like the most introspective week we've ever had as Yep co-founders. And we've already grown so much. So that's another testament to collaboration. But I think to really, really get rid of that groupthink mindset around your co-founders or your business partners or your company as a whole, you have to be individuals. You have to be individualistic. You have to think. Especially for yourself. And I think that's a difficult task. And I think that's a problem we've run into, Madeline. And I do want to hear your take on this, because I've thought about this a little bit today, where,
we do have similar mentalities on a lot of different things, maybe more than the average person, just because of our experiences are very similar in things. Yeah. So we worked for the same startup. We both grew up in the Midwest. We just have a lot of similarities in our background and our interest. I don't know if that would happen with
you're
everyone.
From the South.
I'm barely. I'm from Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky, but yeah, Midwest. But anyways,
To avoid groupthink, I think it's really valuable to stop and think as individuals. Be an individual, be a little individualistic, and think for yourself. And I think that really helps out teams in collaborative environments. So I think we've summarized both sides of this spectrum, competition versus collaboration. But where do we side? I think it's definitely on the collaboration side. Madeline, would you agree?
I completely agree.
Awesome.
But
to avoid groupthink in a collaborative environment, to avoid a situation where everybody's just saying, yes, yes, yes. Do it. I love that idea. Yes, yes. With no feedback, no negation, no communication about what's good and what's bad. We have to avoid groupthink. So the way you do that is be individualistic. You have to be a little bit competitive in that type of environment to really promote the great ideas and demote the worse ideas. Kind of like a yes and kind of approach to ideation and brainstorming.
Yeah, I like the nod to improv there. But also I would say you have to surround yourself with people who are different than you. So if you're always living in this startup bubble and ecosystems, and they occur out there, if you're always in that same space, and even we talked about in the news, co-working, I think that can be a great way to break that and meet new people. So definitely break out. And if you see a science major on campus, talk to them. Their mentality is probably totally different than yours. So that's huge to collaboration and avoiding groupthink.
100%. So for our challenge this week, we wanted to call you to action by playing a little game. So this game isn't going to be with anybody else. You're going to be playing it with yourself. And I want you to play a little game in the improv community called the Yes and game. And if you've never heard of the Yes and game, humor me. Listen to this. So when you hear somebody ideating and brainstorming for a project or a homework assignment or a business idea, whatever it may be, if it's a stupid idea, I want you to say yes and then build upon that idea. Yes and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I love your idea for plastic shoes with holes all over them that you can stick little widgets in. Those are called Crocs. And I think we should make them furry in order to make them a little bit more slipper-ish, slipper type, slipper-esque. There's the right word. So play this game wherever you may be, whether you're in school or in the real world. But don't tell anyone. Just make them think that you're a very positive person who wants to collaborate, but is also smart and intelligent and individualistic and a little bit competitive. Give them feedback, but in a positive form.
Thanks so much for listening this week, guys. We hope you enjoyed the Yepcast. As always, reach out to us, team@helloyep.com.
Peace.